Here's some ideas. I always have a student design lab where they have to basically what I'm trying to teach them is how to design a procedure as per IB, and you can look at the requirements that I put on Canvas. But they need to gather X, Y data, right? And so one thing they could do is they could do force as an independent variable and the length of stretch, right? So they can measure force with the force scale, and they can measure the length of a stretch with a ruler, right? They could also do a pendulum, right? They could measure the length of the pendulum and then measure the period of it. And for period, I always encourage them to let it swing 10 times and then divide the total time by 10 to get the period of 1. And you can see I've cleverly made a 2-meter stick there, right? This is a physical pendulum, so you'll find one of the meter sticks has a bunch of holes drilled in it. And really the interesting thing happens with the physical pendulum closer to the middle, right? So I just say, hey, if you're going to do this, it's easy, but do all of the holes, right? So physical pendulum is kind of fun, right? So it acts just sort of like a normal pendulum if you're near that end. As you get closer to the middle, though, the period gets really long. And that's because what? I guess there's not that much restoring force, right? It's almost at its center of mass. So they can do that. I also set up a thing like this so they can actually hang this on there, and they can do a number of things. They can put different masses on there and measure the length of this. How is that affected by the mass you put on there? Or even more fun, you can take a stopwatch and time again 10 of periods and do a whole bunch of different masses and see how the period changes with that. Okay, and then of course, the other fun thing is coffee filters, right? Coffee filters are aerodynamic, and so you can drop one coffee filter, right? You can drop, I don't know how many that is, 2 or 3, right? Well, 2 or 3 falls significantly faster, right? So the independent variable is the number of coffee filters of the mass, and the dependent variable is the time it takes to hit the ground. Or you can put a rangefinder on the ground and actually have them use the velocity as its dependent variable, right? This is something somebody set up for their IA, and it's kind of fun. We oscillate this back and forth. How does the period of oscillation, how's that affected by the length of the string? Anyway, those are just some ideas, and there's, if you look at the lab, I also posted a bunch of other ideas. Most of those work pretty well.